welcome back to my channel. Let's discuss how to cut down this 23 out of 24 A-star essay, super great essay on the gender pay gap. Unfortunately, it proved to be a little bit long, so too challenging to do maybe under timed conditions. So take a look at the feedback on how I think possibly we could reach a good balance between cutting out content whilst not really changing the marks negatively too much. The introduction is what really doesn't give you any marks. So if you are going to add one, add it only with the most crucial bits. I felt that this student, being kind of an A-star student, probably already knows the definition of the gender pay gaps. That's probably fine to them and not really helpful. So I made the judgment to kind of keep the market failure, the really kind of tough economics content there. They had some really interesting information next, which was even talking about some laws making it illegal to discriminate. However, it's actually not really relevant to explain the policies. Introducing the ideas of what you will say, it's possibly not super important. This essay actually had a really nice style, I felt. This student took the time to tell you this is one of the causes of the gender pay gap, so this is the policy to fix it. And I think logically that provides the reader a really nice flow to it. But if you're thinking from a time reducing perspective, the student could just launch into the policy. And there's a little bit of repetition here when they come to say the policy. In yellow is the block of text that I suggest the student keeps. Compulsory recruitment training, which educates recruiters on gender inequalities and discrimination biases. That's clear what the policy is. We still have the explanation as before on how it works. So the idea is the employer may be biased towards undervaluing the female relative to the equally trained and qualified male. The marginal revenue products would fall. According to economic theory, that would then cause the wages to fall. So I've kept all the diagrams and the modeling, yet I'm trying to keep the economics content the same. I've made a judgment here to keep some of the facts that they have. It's very long. Actually, looking at this again, it's possible that this could be rephrased in a way that just says, possibly at the beginning of the paragraph, that females are 30% less likely to get interviewed. Therefore, one of the policies to reduce the gender pay gap is compulsory bias training. For the evaluation, I feel a lot of the time what's difficult is just to get the right evaluation point. So I would be actually really careful by trying to do this. If you are still uncertain with what evaluation means, based on the feedback that we've got, it's too long, and I felt to communicate the same idea but cut out the writing, kind of the English-based writing. But if you are confident, you could just jump and say, however, a lot of promotion decisions are made by bosses of the business who do not need to participate in the training. How that helps to increase the intake of females and not help to reduce the gender pay gap. The success of the policy depends on how effective the relationships are built, and overall for females working long term in the company, they'll be more able to get into the company and more able to promote kind of a positive image in the company. The critique question, really fast, be super direct. You can, you're not writing an English essay, you don't have to worry about metaphors or introducing this in a nice way. You can just say, this is the economics, and then focus on forming that judgment. Okay, the next paragraph, interestingly, had a lot of repetition. Policy is pick 3 modules that force students to pick something new, something different, that's going to expose students to a new career path. And if they pick jobs with higher MRPs, it will increase the MRPs for females on average, and it will do something similar but opposite possibly to the males. And we need one of the data that they mentioned, so more females tend to work in industries with lower MRPs. That was needed to explain how this module courses will help. There's a lot of repetition here, and you can download the essay, and you might agree with me. I've made some judgment somewhere. You might not want to cut down everything. Again, with the evaluation, just launch straight into the critique. So however, students may already be influenced by social norms. That's the critique. And once you've done that, focus on making the judgment. So making it hard for their minds to be changed. This may make the cause ineffective unless combined with something else. So critique, judgment, The idea is to rely on the judgment to then link it back to the gender pay gap. That way, you don't have to do it from the start. And this is really risky. I don't recommend you do it necessarily unless you've proven that you can consistently evaluate and get really top marks. This student repeats a lot, which is good training for them, because they were working on getting their chains of reasoning step by step. And naturally, when you do that, you'll probably repeat a lot of the arguments. But now that they're really good at that, the next step was to see how to cut that down. So launch straight into the policy. As you can see here, the 40% gender quotas would be the policy. You explained that very fast on how that would work. And the trickle-down effect, that was really cool, that was mentioned before. And ultimately it's linked to the gender pay gap. So the rest of it is just really kind of repetition. They did have a diagram reference that I cut out, and I suggested that to add it here when you're talking about the differences in the pay. You could link that to the diagram. With the evaluation, same thing. State your critique. Say, however, some of these female workers may not be the right choice for the firm. And then form a judgment as soon as you can. These unsuitable females may also decrease the productivity, which could cause a company to not hire as many females in the future. That's still not their judgment. Their judgment said, as a result, the 40% gender quota should help to reduce the gender pay gap. This one seemed to be a little bit more tricky. It took them a little bit more lines to get to the judgment. But that's the idea. With the conclusion, I've decided to suggest to cut down all the summary in this case, because they had done kind of a really well structured and step-by-step essay already, so it was really clear to read, and personally I didn't kind of need any refreshing on the issues. And I suggested just keep the rest of the bit where the student is weighing up the costs and the benefits and forming that judgment as to saying ultimately these policies discussed will probably help, but something additional may need to be used for females in lower skilled positions. Okay, so thank you so much for looking at this video. I hope you found this useful. Thank you so much again for the student for giving me permission to make a couple of videos on this essay. I hope you've kind of taken from this a sample of an A-star essay, and also had the confidence that, yeah, you don't need to write long sentences, necessarily long essays to score so well. You can see that a lot of the content was actually repeated, and so it could be a lot shorter. Okay, so thank you so much. See you. Bye.